Somewhere behind closed doors at DICE headquarters Stockholm, Sweden, the team is cooking up the next installment in the Battlefield franchise. I've been here a fair few times. If you ever get the chance to go to Sweden, do it. It's a beautiful country. After the rollercoaster ride that was Battlefield 5, I'm sure many of you are wary as to what's coming next, me included. The masterpiece that was Battlefield 1, well, a masterpiece in my eyes, does give me hope that such another great title in the series could be possible. This won't be an essay to convince you of its perfection, far from it. Weapon balance issues, overpowered vehicles, questionable SMGs, the list goes on and on. A masterpiece, I say, because it showed what Battlefield could be. A full-fat 64-player experience with all the bells and whistles that push the consoles to the limits, and it looks pretty damn good on PC as well. It wasn't flawless, it was a game that was clearly made with a great deal of love and passion. That, in my eyes, is what DICE needs to strive for with the next Battlefield, whenever and wherever it may be set. World War I or II is just too early, Hardline 2 is definitely too much of a risk, maybe the same goes for a futuristic 2143, especially if it's going to be competing with the likes of Halo Infinite. Well, if they improve that game, that is. A modern day setting is my best bet. Battlefield Bad Company 3? Maybe. My best guess is going to be Modern Warfare, maybe a BF3 or BF4 sequel. Whatever it may be, I do hope the love and passion seen in 1 follows through to Battlefield 6. DICE, please. I can't lie, 5 had its moments. I put a lot of time and effort and money into that game, even pushed off my favourite BF1 to the side to play it, stream and make videos about it. Since the announcement of no more content though earlier this year, I took a break. Battlefield 5 clearly made the mistake of not building upon the foundations laid out with Battlefield 1. One is a war game with soul, the other is a first-person shooter lacking soul. You only have to see one kill streak to understand the layers upon layers upon layers that all combine to form the experience that 1 gave us. The round is nearly up, a close clutch is needed to save the game, a ballsy drop from the plane into enemy territory, take back the tower, it's the only way. Tank out up front, flank it, enemies above and below. Each section is its own little place of safety, but not for so long. You have to think about how enemies are going to be coming from above and coming in. Time it right and you'll succeed. Each area in its own way is separate. It has its own strengths and weaknesses. Top of the tower, great overwatch, a little risky though. Downstairs, safe, but limited views. The outside of the tower, safe from pesky eyes above, useful flanks, but do be aware of the enemy spawns coming in. Buildings around the area, each so thought out, again with their own strengths and weaknesses, and their own playstyles. A sniper on top of the tower can alter the way enemies approach and deal with each other. A tank can soon stop that. If there's no tank, a plane perhaps. But what if they're on the AA? Well, no planes are coming here. These aren't all imaginary scenarios. They happen all the time. One game becomes different from the next. This is the kind of design that keeps the Battlefield fresh. Not every map is perfect or every area, but the layering is there in Battlefield 1, and that's what DICE needs to take forward. You can especially see it in the trenches of St. Quentin Scar, the way the apartments play out in Amiens. Not all the maps flow so well, of course, it is true, but the building blocks are there. This definitely happened to BF4 and BF3 to some extent. I just feel that in BF1, the layering is a little more considered. On a bigger scale, it happens across the map too. A rush through the trenches is a safe bet, perhaps a risky long flank over here. It could be worth the rewards. If you take this zigzag section here, it's kind of a little bit of a section dealing with the overflow perhaps. If there's too many players, you can just escape here. What I'm trying to say, and my point is, there's various layers here, and these building blocks all together allow for a variety of gameplay to happen. If the team pushes one trench but not the other, that has an effect on how the rest of the map plays out. Do the defenders counter with the same, or do they attack from above with more medium range weaponry? This extends to the next set of objectives. If the defenders owned up close with SMGs and shotguns, they're not going to be as strong in the more medium range spots that open up perhaps further down the map. And thus, as the map unfolds across the operation, so does the gameplay potential available. To a great extent, the player's actions have a notable effect on the way the game is played. They have a say in how the map plays out, or, in other words, the flow. You only have to look at a map like Hamada in Battlefield 5 to see how much this game differs. There is no significant locations to hold, no areas or positions that contribute significantly to how the map plays out. It's, dare I say, kind of random, and not in a good way. It's as if your input has little effect on the game. If you manage to take the objective, you have little cover, and reality is, whoever wins come down to the team that turns up. Not all objectives need a lot of cover, but they do need to be considered. And this is strange. If you play Hamada in grand operations, the addition of artilleries, in other words, actual objective areas that suit a similar purpose to that described on St. Quentin Scar, the map plays rather differently. Players can defend the area, flank, hold, rotate, etc. Players will change their approach in order to attack it or to defend it. You can see this all in Rotterdam too. Sad thing is, this is Grand Ops only, and once that objective is taken, the game is over. Only the breakthrough mode takes you through the map. But unfortunately, it doesn't play anything like Grand Operations. The story elements that we saw in Battlefield 1 operations are completely gone. You may be thinking, why does this talk of layers matter so much? Because layering is what provides a variety of gameplay experiences. Funny and totally random moments happen so often in Battlefield because of this. This sniper on the floor narrowly saved from my bullets by a plane crashing down in front of them. This happens because there's several layers going on in the gameplay. Sure, a plane can just fall out of the sky at any point, you know, that it is Battlefield, but you know, look at the way it's playing. Look at this situation here. The planes are trying to bomb the area, so they're naturally going to be flying over. Boom, they crash down right in front of the enemy, block my view, I miss the shot, and we have a really cool looking moment. These kind of kill streaks happen because players are stuck in anticipation of what may come ahead of them. And I use that knowledge, that game sense, or lack of it, against them. This happens because there is layers here. Without this, or structure if you will, the experience becomes shallow. And this is too often seen in Battlefield 5. You know, to come to think of it, I think what best describes the difference between BF1 and 5's map's design is one feels like I'm in a war. You get to feel what it's like to be stuck in the trenches, in a fortress, on the streets of Amiens. The tanks cut off the routes. You get stuck in buildings. Buildings come down around you. You have to adapt to the way the map is being played around you. You get to feel it. Amiens is different to the deserts of Sinai, and that map is different to the bunkers of Monte Grappa. In BF5, you don't quite get to really experience those same kind of feelings. Your input, your positioning, the flow, doesn't quite have the same effect. Take the village and church on Arras, for example. Really cool places to fight in. I've had some really cool moments here. But do you ever really feel the environment and how it's being played having a real effect on you and your approach to the game? Is it ever quite the same atmosphere as the maps in BF1 could be? Particularly Amiens or St. Quentin Scar. I'm not so convinced. And we haven't even talked about how the kill streaks all play into this. And by that, I mean the big bombs and the artilleries. The former, I'm not so concerned about. I'd like to see that return perhaps. But the latter, on a map like Arras, one artillery on the final objective, and well, it doesn't matter how good your team is, it's probably going to be a loss. Once that drops in, you lose all your cover, it's too difficult to flank. And the thing with BF5 is, so often, and this is one of the reasons I kind of stopped playing it, I found that you're often the last person on the objective. In Conquest, not so much a big deal, but in Operations, if you're on that objective and the enemies outnumber you, boom, they take the flank. They don't have to take you off it. That, in my opinion, needs to change. Some of the best Battlefield moments are when you are on your own, or when there's only a few teammates left, and you've got to just try and save it against a horde of enemies. But when players can just, or when teams, can just instantly take an objective, despite you still being there, I feel that really creates a very shallow experience. You should have to take the objective. I know someone in the comments is going to be like, well, it's too big of an area. Is it? Is it really with 32 players? Is it too much of a big area? I think not. If we have to actually remove the enemies from the objectives, we have a variety of experiences and gameplay moments that could happen. More layers, more structure, more cool moments. Do it, make it so enemies have to actually take the objective. On a side note, graphically, BF1 looked like a whole different generation of consoles compared to BF4. Hey, I loved BF4, don't get me wrong, a lot of love for that game. I put my heart into playing it, making montages, streaming and whatever. But BF1, it's breathtakingly gorgeous. And on another side note, like BF4 and BF3, classes are distinguishable from each other, providing another layer on top of the rich gameplay as it is. You know if someone's a sniper, an assault, a support. Same in BF3 and 4. This is lost in 5. Not that I'm against cosmetics, I just wish DICE and their approach to these items were a little more considered. I probably ranted a little bit here and repeated myself in many ways, and it's probably not perfect. I just wanted to get something out there today. I wish to speak more about these topics. I just wanted to start up a conversation, start off with a few things, and we'll talk more in depth later. I do hope you'll leave your thoughts below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. I'd like to end with saying this. Battlefield is best when it plays out like one big tug of war. BF1 for me came the closest to the best Battlefield experience. Not because it was perfect, but because it showed what Battlefield could be. Do it again with Battlefield 6. Guys, please.